And what makes us unique is that every person that works for me on the day spa side and does massages, they're all like classically trained in Thai and trained in Thailand.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Daniel Gao here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk, where we feature the top medical practitioners in health and beauty, both inside and out. I have Katie LaFoy, an ex-accountant, stay-at-home mom turned business owner overnight. She took over a small day spa that was on its last legs and turned it into a thriving day and medical spa combo and tripled revenue in 1 year and grew the employee count from 5 to 22. All this while raising 3 kids and managing their ever-demanding sports and social calendars. So Katie, welcome and glad to have you here.
Hi, glad to be here.
Let's dive right into it. How did you get interested in aesthetics?
So I just fell into it. I'm a woman who obviously, over time I've makeup, skincare, that kind of thing. But actually, prior to owning the spa, I was very like CVS drugstore. My biggest purchase would be like a Clinique face wash or something like that. And I got into aesthetics. I don't want to say accidentally, but we were looking to purchase a business and we were looking at liquor stores and car washes, all different types of things. And then there was this day spa that came on the market and we were like, let's just go look at it, having no prior knowledge of, other than getting a massage or a facial every now and then. And so when we decided to buy it, it was like a crash course in let me learn everything about aesthetics. And especially with the spa that we bought, there was the idea of as it was, it could, we wanted to take it to the next level. So it was not only learning about like what was already there, but then learning how to take what was there and catapult it into adding a med spa. And so I really had to just deep dive and kind of learn on the go, a lot of research, a lot of late nights. And now, I'm a self-proclaimed expert.
Well, there you go. I mean, you have the experience and you have the chops to prove it. So it must have been difficult to turn around a practice that was on its last legs. So can you talk a little bit more about like that journey, like what you had to do, what you had to go through? Because I mean, owning a business is not easy, especially one that's not doing well. But you were able to turn around, triple the revenue, grow the employee count more than 4x. So what was that journey like?
Yeah, it was crazy. So when we bought this business, it was the idea that I would be like keeping the books. I was an accountant before, and so it was like, hey, go in there for a couple of weeks, kind of see how everything works, and then come back home and just do the accounting and figure out, very like part-time-ish how to grow it. And I mean, a day into it, I was like, that is not the reality at all. So it's one of those things too where I didn't realize kind of how bad off it was until I really got in there and saw, oh, like there's a lot of stuff, even just from, it's kind of like one of those things if you're going to buy a house and you walk through the house and you kind of just see all the good parts of it. And then once you buy it, you see, you're like, wow, I didn't notice that ding in the wall, or, oh, I didn't, you see all these little things once you're in it and kind of living and breathing it. And it's no different than a business. So I remember walking in like on the second day and I thought, gosh, it really smells like stale, like massage oil. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't notice this smell before. And so it was just all different types of things, like get rid of all the old linens, get all just little things like that, where it was like, this needs to smell like a spa, like it needs to be very luxurious. And so it was all that kind of thing, just from those little ticky tacky things to completely redoing the decor that was very dark and very, hadn't been updated in probably 15 years. And so it was like, okay, come in and, remodel everything, make it look fresh and clean and relaxing. And then once we got to that point, I was like, okay, now how do we actually add a med spa? And so that was literally me Googling, like, how do you start a med spa? Like, what are the first steps? And it was like, you need a medical director. Okay. Because myself and my husband at the time, my ex-husband, who I bought the business with and now I've taken over. Neither one of us are in the medical field. And so for a lot of people that own a med spa, I think more times than not, they're a nurse or an NP or a doctor. And so this was us kind of going out and me saying, okay, how do you even find a medical director? Like, is there some kind of, directory? And I actually found our first medical director through AmSpa. And she was amazing, incredible, and really taught me a lot of things and was very influential in getting us up and actually running, and very much like, hey, don't even think about stuff, just kind of dive in. If you have someone from MERS come and they want to sell you product, just buy it. Buy all that they tell you need and you'll figure it out. You'll sell it. And I was like, that seems really scary. But I was like, okay. And in the end, it worked out. But there were a lot of sleepless nights where, it was like, oh my gosh, I am sitting on a lot of product. Are we going to be able to move it? And so, especially for us, we were only known as a day spa at the time, and a kind of a sketchy one at that. So there was a lot of like pulling tin off of windows, like, come in, see what we're doing. It's all very legit. And now I need you to think of us as also, someone where you'll get needles stuck in you too. So it was a long first year for sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, it was a very revenue wise, it was great, but I mean, it's a hard journey. It's not easy to turn around a dying business and then also adding on another component to it. So, I mean, I salute you for the hard work that you put in, how you're able to turn it around.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to specific treatments, like I know you have the day spa side and then you have the med spa side. What are some of the common treatments that your clients come to you for on both sides?
Yeah. So the day spa side is, one thing that makes us really unique. I mean, there's a med spa or a massage place pretty much on every street corner. I mean, at least where we are. And so, you have the franchises like the Massage Envies and the Spavias and things like that, as far as like kind of day spa massage goes. And then you have obviously much nicer spas and hotels and stuff like that. We're kind of in this sweet spot of, it's like, we're not like this franchise, you just walk in and you pop into a massage and you pop out, but we're obviously not the Ritz either, right? So, and what makes us unique is that every person that works for me on the day spa side and does massages, they're all like classically trained in Thai and trained in Thailand. Or, one of our amazing massage therapists, she does your traditional fire Chinese cupping. And so they all have these really strong specialties. And they didn't just, not to knock it, but they didn't just go to like a local, massage school around the corner. And they do it more for like the love of and the art of it versus like, I'm just trying to get a paycheck. And I woke up one day and decided I'm going to be a massage therapist. So it's like very much in their blood and they love it. And so obviously that, transcends, and you can tell when you're in that service with them that it's something different and special. So massages on the day spa side are by far our most popular service. We recently added like the Japanese head spa that's becoming popular. And then some of our kind of, I call them like our fluffy day spa facials, where it's some really good, like organic, feel good, smell good, type products that we use, very relaxing. And then on the med spa side, we have, it's obviously, they're closely linked, but at the same time, they're night and day. These are the services where people are like, I'm coming in, I literally want to leave looking different. So we have our CO2 lasers, our Morpheus 8, which is, for facial and body contouring. It's that micro needling with RF or radio frequency. Those are two really big, heavy hitters that can really make a difference. So you have people who are strictly like injectables, they're like, fill me up with Botox and fillers. And that's all I'm interested in, because those are quick, big changes that you see, either immediately or in a couple weeks. And I love those. Those are amazing. But then you also have these people who are kind of like, I'm not ready, or I don't want to go down that route of, a Botox or a filler. I want to look exactly like me, just refreshed and a little younger. And those are where those services like the lasers, the CO2 laser, the cool pill, the Morpheus 8, those really hit that nice spot of, we're not completely changing the look of your face, or we're not really altering, we're just making you look refreshed. That's probably our biggest want from our clientele. We don't have a pocket where people are really trying to like completely change the shape of their face or really augment any, lip or chin or anything like that. They really just want to look like themselves, but a little younger, and a little more refreshed. And so that's our kind of our favorite services, are try to combine, a little Botox, a little laser, to get people, where they feel good about themselves, but they still look like themselves.
Got it. Okay. Now, Katie, I want to talk a little about what really differentiates your practice from others in the industry. Particularly, I want to talk about your team. I mean, you went from inheriting 5 people to now you have 22. So can you talk a little bit more about like your team and why your team was so essential to differentiating yourselves from everybody else, like the massage envies and all those ones, and also now the med spa component?
Yeah, and I mean, I think every business owner, no matter what industry you're in, I think everybody goes through one of the most difficult things is building a strong team, right? And finding a staff that is, I mean, not just, oh, they show up, oh, they do an okay job, but they are, it's their passion. And that's kind of where, and I filtered through so many employees. It took a long time to get us to a place where we, and you would slowly, you'd hire like 5 people, you'd keep one that's like still with us, and then 4 will drop off, and then and that's just kind of the progression. And who we have now is, I mean, they're the reason why I was able to triple revenue. I mean, we're not necessarily doing anything different than anyone else. It's not like, oh, we have this, special machine that no one else has. Everything we have is the same stuff that every other med spa or day spa has. So it's truly the people, the staff. And that is how we differentiate ourselves. They're all very caring, compassionate. And like I said, these are not people who like woke up one day and said, I'm going to be an esthetician today. I think these are people who, dreamed about doing this for years, or have literally done this since the 90s. One of our estheticians, she's amazing. I mean, she's seen the progression of aesthetics since 94. And she's worked across the country. And so she brings so much to the table, where she's like, I think the way we did it, 15 years ago is better than the way they're doing it now. And you kind of have this, and everyone has like a special little niche of something that they're really good at. I have some of our medical estheticians, they're wizards with a laser. I mean, you can go in, they can laser your whole body in 10 minutes, and you're like, oh my gosh, that didn't hurt. You know what I mean? That's just their thing. And I think that was the key in building the team, is finding, not looking for 22 people that are all good at everything, but figuring out like who has this, who specializes in certain things. And that's, I think, what our clientele loves, because they will come in and we offer so many different services, but they'll know, hey, I know there's this amazing laser tech. That's just her thing, and then, or if I want to have a very relaxing and just good basic facial, I'm going to go see this person. So they all really specialize in different things, and it creates, and we have a membership. And that's, I think, why people sign up, because they're like, wow, I can come and get the best of every service that they offer with the best person. Very different. And that was another thing that I wanted, and I think is a little different than other places, is that I never trained and said, okay, this is the Sempre way. I wanted it to be, you come to Sempre and you may try a few massage therapists and then you find your special one. I wanted everybody to keep their uniqueness. We have obviously core values for the company as a whole, but I want it to be like, oh, when you're going into this esthetician's room, the experience that you're going to have. And so people could, there's not a one size fits all, I don't think, for anyone. Some people like that, some people don't, but it has worked for us. Same with our injectors. They have different techniques, they have different specialties. If you want a really good chin, then you're going to see, this injector. If you want really great lips, you'll probably go. But yeah, so that's, I think, everyone holding on to kind of like their uniqueness and then having the passion that they do is kind of what sets us apart.
Awesome. And I can just tell in the way you're describing is that there's a lot more passion. There's a lot more that's really what separates a business is how good is their people? How passionate are they?
Yeah.
So, Katie, I want to talk a little bit more about on the education side. So dealing with your clients. And I'm sure that there's a lot of misconceptions out there. There's a lot of myths out there, but I want to talk about a couple of things. Like when it comes to the injectables, like you use a lot of injectables in your practice and also using it for the body. So I think when people think about injectables, they're mostly thinking about for the face, Botox and filler for the face. But for the body, I don't think as many people are familiar with that. So would you mind talking a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, and this is a really exciting thing. We love, we just had an event recently and it was just all about the body. And it's like, like you said, when you think about aesthetics and you think about injectables, you're typically just thinking about the face. And I would say probably 85% of people only do focus on their face and neck. It's the first thing people see. You can cover everything else up. But the exciting thing is that there's different products, like, for instance, Sculptra. It's made by Galderma. Phenomenal product for the face and just helping reproduce collagen, and add a little fullness, but not necessarily like a true filler. But you can use that in the stomach to create the illusion of abs. You can use it in the butt to do like a liquid butt lift to remove like dimples and help with sagging. So you get like this slight lift. And, radius, similar to Sculptra, using it in the hands or above the knees where you get, very sagging skin. Those are some of you typically think about face and neck when you think about aging and how you can tell how old someone is. But the next couple of things are like people's hands. They age a lot. They're constantly in the sun. You typically don't think about putting on sunscreen every day. And that can be a big like telltale sign of your age. So it's a quick, easy, few injections, and it makes a huge difference. Above the knee with like sagging, that skin just gets loose, and so you can use it there. So it's really interesting, the different ways, and those are just like two products of ways you can use them. But and obviously Botox has actually been used for a long time for armpits, hands, feet, sweating. More recently, the Barbie Botox that people talked about, especially after like the Barbie movie came out, but the trap tox. And so it not only does it help with like tension headaches and things like that, but that's where you hold a lot of tension and it helps release those muscles. It softens, gives a more feminine look to like the neck and the shoulders. And then it also helps with, knots and holding tension. So there's so many different ways with injectables that you can use it in the body. And then also with Morpheus 8 and different lasers, we typically think about just the face, but body contouring, helping eliminate not just the appearance of cellulite, but actually like burning through and getting rid of cellulite and breaking that up. And then as the body heals, it tightens. So there's a lot of, without having to go under the knife, these are procedures that either require no numbing or 30 minutes of numbing, and then maybe a little laughing gas if you're nervous, and then in an hour you're in and out and done. It's not like you're going to a plastic surgeon, going under the knife, being put out. So yeah, those are exciting procedures that not a lot of people know about, but when they do, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was so quick and easy. And it can make such a big difference in the body.
Yeah. Now, a lot of these things that you're talking about, it does require a certain level of creativity. I mean, injectables for the body, you don't really think about that, or even combining lasers with other treatments. But what role do you believe artistry plays in the type of work that you do? Because I mean, especially the med spa side where it's a lot more medical and people don't necessarily think about artistry when it comes to medicine. But how important do you think artistry is in what you do?
Oh gosh, it's probably 99%. I mean, I will tell you that, you know, it's, you can't just take any RN or nurse practitioner and they've, been through school and they have that license, and that does not transcend into aesthetics by any means. I mean, you need those licensures, those certifications, and that school to kind of, be able to even think about doing aesthetic injectables. But that in no way means, I mean, I can't tell you how many nurses that I've interviewed or nurse practitioners, and a lot of people want to get into, they want to leave the ER and go into a med spa and do aesthetics. And it is definitely an art, and it needs to not just be practice, but you definitely have to have an eye for it, because there's not a one size fits all, or this is the exact way you do, this every time. It depends on, everyone's face is different, their symmetry, what they're looking for, the different products you're using. I mean, and I don't even know that, this is just me on the sidelines, like as an owner that has no, background, any of it. But you can tell, especially, just watching their different techniques. And it's really interesting that they can all get to the same end result. And I have three injectors that work for me, but you'll watch them and all three of them do lips completely different. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you even, but then the finished product, is beautiful. And you're like, oh my gosh. And so, but it's, the art of it is huge. You know what I mean? I mean, there's obviously science and medical background, but like I said, I've seen a lot of people that are trained, with those degrees, that it does not transcend into aesthetic injectables. So that's a big one.
Okay. And Katie, what do you think the future of aesthetics is going?
I think one thing that I really love about it is that, well, there's two things that get me really excited. One is that people are talking about it more. I feel like it used to be a lot more taboo back in the day to, if you were getting any type of injectables, you were not talking about it. It was very hush hush. And now I think, it's more accepted, and it's a little less of, oh, I'm trying to be, look really fake or very augmented or really change my looks, and more of just people are getting into, I'm going to start doing Botox a little earlier because they're understanding the science behind it. Like, if you start a little earlier and you can't move those and make those movements as much, then those wrinkles don't get set in and they don't get deep set. And so it actually, the earlier you kind of start to get a tox, the less work down the line you'll need. And so just kind of educating and knowing that is exciting, and people learning that and seeing, oh, okay. And then also that it's not like, you're not trying to change your appearance. You are actually trying to age gracefully. You still want to look like yourself, just less wrinkled and refreshed. You don't want to look exhausted, like, you've been up all night. And that shouldn't be, I mean, it's not for everyone, but I think a lot more people are accepting it a little more. And I mean, if you feel like you look good, then you feel better about yourself, and whatever that means. That may mean something totally different, for you than it does for me. But I love that there's more acceptance and that people are talking about it more, and it can be like, girlfriends getting together and having a Botox party. And it's not like this hush hush secret thing where, you don't want to let anyone know. And then the other thing that's exciting to me is that men are starting to kind of get more into it, and it's becoming more accepted, in that they're kind of like, oh, well, maybe I don't have to have these deep wrinkles either, or maybe I'd like to have a little more, prominent jawline or chin, and that's okay. I can do that too. And so that's exciting. And there's so many other new things kind of coming down the line, like exosomes, for example, that we've been using a lot in this spa in lieu of PRP. And that's a super interesting, like, did a podcast with one of our reps from our exosomes dealer, I call him. But anyway, and that, that's exciting too, because these are things that are a little less invasive, like a filler or something like that, but just a really great way to kind of help with the aging process, help with, hair loss and different things like that, which is kind of a big epidemic right now between people losing hair from COVID or people losing weight on like weight loss. And, so it's men and women that are kind of learning about that. And so I think I'm just excited that there's more education floating around, and there's a lot of, false information, but I think the right information is getting to the right people. And it's little things, again, that people are able to do to just make themselves feel good. And so that's exciting.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think especially with the regenerative medicine, exosomes and all that, I think that's a whole new field that's going to really get into the
Yes.
aesthetics industry.
Yeah, it's really starting to take off, and that's exciting. I mean, we've seen it with just applying it after lasers and Morpheus and things like that. We've seen, I mean, the healing time and then the results, it's just, I mean, threefold. And so that's really exciting to us, because one, you want your patients to see even, the best results, and then it gets them excited and they're like, I want to come back and do it again, instead of being like, I did 4 treatments and I think I see a difference, so that's, we love the exosomes. We've been really loving incorporating that.
Okay, awesome. Now, Katie, what is your vision for Sempre Spa?
So we are, we're a 4,000 square foot facility, and we have, I think as of right now, the beauty industry changes every day. There's always a new and better machine, but I think where we are right now is we have a really great staff. We've got all the pieces, and all the different, injectors and estheticians and things like that. We have everyone in place and kind of exactly where they're supposed to be. We have, I think, the machines that we need to cover kind of everything that we would want to do. We have our weight loss program. So we have everything in place. I think for us now, it's just to try to scale with what we have. Before it was like, I need to build a bigger staff and I need to get machines and I need to get, now we're just about, we have the ability to probably double the people that we service, without having to do anything but basically just bring the people in, which is probably one of the hardest things. But but we're also building a mobile med spa, and so we're super excited about that. So I think that's the next thing that's going to really help us kind of expand without actually having to open a second location. So that's, I think, the next thing that we're super excited about being able to kind of reach more people, different events and things like that, while still having our brick and mortar, which is obviously really important. But yeah, and just kind of staying up to date on everything, which is a task in itself.
Well, it sounds like the future is bright regardless.
Yes.
Okay, now, Katie, what's the most important piece of advice you can give to someone who's thinking about getting some type of aesthetic treatment or procedure done, but isn't sure which provider to choose?
Yeah. So, I mean, the provider is everything, for sure. I think just, researching the facility that you're going to, and you definitely want to make sure that it's a reputable place that uses true like brand name products and things like that, especially when it comes to, injectables and everything. That's always really important. I would say to people, it's okay to ask to see the vial. It's okay to ask that they fill up the syringes in front of you. It's something that's being put into your body. And we've heard horror stories about things not, being very off label or, told that they're getting one thing and they're getting another. And it's okay to ask if you're getting Morpheus or any type of micro needling where there's going to be a needle going into you. Say, open that package in front of me so I know this is a fresh, brand new thing. So all that stuff is, important. And, talk to the provider about kind of their background, how many times they've done these treatments. And then I think you'll be able to tell if you're with the right provider. if they're able to, I always love that our people will give, a couple of different options, that they sit down and talk to you, what are your goals for your skincare? What are things that bother you? Where would you like to see, what are you doing at home? And that just kind of, can have a conversation with you first instead of somebody that's going to slap you down the table and say, this is your only option, or, give you kind of the most expensive option. I know me personally, I love to go somewhere and they kind of say, here's 3 options. I'm not sure what your budget is or what your goals are, but let me tell you, based on what I see, these are the 3 options I would give you. And this is the price, this is the timeline, and really make sure you're having a conversation and you're clear with, different treatments have different downtime. And some people that we see say, I want to go super aggressive, with say a laser, and I don't care if I'm 2 weeks downtime. I want to be one and done. Other people are like, I'd rather come in 4 times, but be able to go to work, over the weekend, go back to work on Monday and no one, I'm not like I've been in a car wreck. So it's important to have someone that can kind of walk you through all these different options. And then that also, I think it's important for people to do a little research before they go into something to kind of make sure, they know the questions to ask. But definitely a great med spa, a great spa, the provider is going to be able to, should almost assume that you've done no research, you don't know anything, and look at you as an expert and say, here's what I see, here's some recommendations, here's downtime, here's pricing, and really kind of walk you through that. That's how I think people should that's what people should expect if they're at a great place.
Great advice. Great advice. So, Katie, I have one last question for you, but before I ask it, I do want to point people to your website at semprespa.com. Now, last question is, what does beauty mean to you?
I think it means being comfortable, whatever that means for you. I know, some people, I need to lose a little weight so I will feel beautiful. Or some people are like, I don't care if I lose weight. I just, I want beautiful lips. I think it's just different, but I definitely think it means being, to me, real beauty is just being comfortable with yourself and being able to, look in the mirror or confidently go out in public and just know that like you feel good. And that means different things to different people. But yeah, being comfortable in your own skin, and however you get there is kind of your own journey. So.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Katie sharing her expertise. So Katie, where can people contact you and your practice?
Yeah, so we are located in Johns Creek, Georgia. And we, you mentioned our website before. It's semprespa.com. You can book online there. You can read about all of our different services. You can call us. We have very knowledgeable, amazing, sweet front desk girls too. Our number's on the website. But yeah, we'd love to see you. We do free consultations for all of our different services. So we love to chat about beauty and all of the aesthetics.
Awesome. Well, Katie, it was a pleasure. Great having you on, and thank you for sharing your message.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.